Everyone loves a good team-up, right? Fan-favorite characters fighting side by side, worlds colliding in a melting pot of stories and ideas. But while it might seem like a no-brainer for developers, blending intellectual properties is actually a delicate balancing act of various tones, mechanics, and artistic directions. And lucky for us, we actually got a masterclass in doing just that when a certain oversized key flashed across our screens back in 2002. Hi there, my name is Daniel, and I think Kingdom Hearts is pretty creative. Man, I freaking love this series. Flashy combat systems, immersive worlds, and let's be honest, some of the strangest mashups in pop culture history. In fact, the Keybearer's Quest has been such a formative part of my gaming journey that I often forget how wild this concept was when it was first revealed. The new console generation of the early 2000s was able to bring 3D environments to life like never before, transforming all sorts of titles into full cinematic experiences. And the role-playing juggernaut Squaresoft was absolutely eating this up, rounding off their iconic PS1 era with the truly breathtaking Final Fantasy X. RPG fans were living large, but Square wasn't just looking to iterate on existing formulas. They wanted to break new ground. What would it look like to apply these familiar mechanics to a freely explorable 3D world? How could an RPG synergize with real-time action and platforming elements? Tetsuya Nomura was fascinated by these questions, and after nearly a decade of shaping the visual identity of Final Fantasy, he was ready to take on this new project. But it wasn't going to be easy. Action platformers were running the show back in the early aughts, and if Nomura's team was going to have any chance of breaking through that noise, they were going to need one heck of an IP to get the job done. Enter Mickey Mouse. Believe it or not, Square and Disney actually used to share an office in Japan, and after a fateful elevator meeting, Kingdom Hearts was officially set in motion. Final Fantasy would provide the RPG structure, Disney would bring the world design, and the familiar faces from both would draw the mass market. But it doesn't take much to see the challenge here. I mean, juggling the rights for all these IPs is one thing, but this and this are supposed to exist within the same story? How do you blend such disparate elements while faithfully representing both? It'll be a delicate balance for sure, but Nomura's team knew it was just crazy enough to work. For starters, our protagonist would have to feel at home in both worlds, but also distinct from both. He would be the connection, the link to all, so to speak. And I mean, look at this guy. The spiky hair and outrageous outfit are straight out of Final Fantasy. But the big old shoes and carefree personality, that's all Disney. And the rest of our cast mirrors that balance between Square's edgelords and Disney's whimsy. Check the headcount though. Only 4 of these characters are original, and one of them doesn't even show up until the end. It's kinda odd to revisit a game that relies so heavily on outside material. But Kingdom Hearts was still a bit of a risk at this point, so it was most important that Square nailed this alchemy between its existing characters before filling out its own roster. Simplicity was the name of the game, and by boiling down their massive list of IPs to some of the most basic elements of fantasy storytelling, Nomura's team was able to seamlessly integrate all of them into a single grand narrative. There's no Xehanort, no organization, no Keyblade War, just a simple tale of light conquering darkness through the power of connection. Drop in that well-rounded art style and a stellar soundtrack from Yoko Shimomura, and all the right pieces are in place from the moment we're dropped quite literally into our adventure. This bizarre, dreamlike opening has become synonymous with the series itself, perfectly setting the stage for an adventure that's grandiose yet personal. After asking us some vague philosophical questions, Sora's dive to the heart serves as our training ground, introducing us to some novel new mechanics like analog movement, camera control, and most importantly, how to fight in a 3D space. Now, these basic ingredients are essentially baked into modern game design and are easy to take for granted as a result. But y'all, 2002 was a different time. 3D gaming as a whole was less than a decade old, And while both action games and RPGs were toying with 3D, there really weren't many developers combining all three. Kingdom Hearts was breaking new ground, transposing the strategic, menu-based gameplay of RPGs into real time and space. Platforming environments now double as battlefields, retiring the dedicated battle screen and creating a seamless interplay of exploration and combat. For the game itself, this creates a lot more factors to juggle at any given moment. But for the future of gaming, Square's merging of genres unlocked the new possibilities for RPGs that are still bearing fruit today. In a traditional RPG, victory can often come down to a thoughtful arrangement of party members and equipment, much like pieces on a chessboard. This sense of strategy is entirely different from the fast-paced finesse required for a high-intensity action game, which purely for the sake of this discussion, we will call skill. Kingdom Hearts combines these two systems, transforming combat into an exciting synergy of strategic decisions and skillful maneuvering. Of course, Sora does come preloaded with a basic 3-hit combo that can be upgraded with various modifiers, but this won't do you any good if you're not attacking from the right angle. Positioning is a key factor here, as successful attacks no longer come down to accuracy, stats, and RNG. And this goes double for defense. Gone are the days of just tanking attacks during your enemy's turn, because with the right timing, Sora can now block, dodge, or even parry attacks with his own strike. This is big, as it allows players with enough skill to circumvent strategy entirely. Heck, you can even turn off XP and play through the whole game at level 1 if you wanna, which wouldn't really be possible in a lot of turn-based RPGs. But even for us mere mortals, Kingdom Hearts' synergy of strategy and skill brings a surprising amount of depth out of a pretty small toolkit. Think about it, this was before fancy features like drive forms, flow motion, and oh my goodness, attractions. Yet it's engaging the whole way through, giving you plenty of options both before and during combat to shape your desired playstyle. So let's talk about those options. In addition to his basic stats, our good friend Sora operates primarily through the use of abilities and commands. Now commands are pretty simple, covering our basic combat actions as well as things like magic and summons. Unlike Final Fantasy though, these powerful moves don't have to be equipped and are instead just added to the list. That's a lot to think about, and because we're battling in real time and space, we've also got to think beyond just elemental damage. Each spell comes with its own function and range, be that a projectile, status condition, or a shield to block incoming attacks. Likewise, summons aren't just single-use nukes anymore, but rather temporary allies that bestow various buffs and alternative attacks. Spending your MP then is largely about the type of attack you want to unleash, which gives even more utility to Sora's moveset. Abilities, on the other hand, augment that moveset and provide the real bread and butter for customization in Kingdom Hearts. These passive skills do have to be equipped and require you to be intentional with your limited ability points. Want to play defensively and prioritize support abilities? Or would you rather put more chips on offense and expand your move pool? This deceptively simple setup is actually an intricate interplay of options and trade-offs, complicated even further by those choices you made at the beginning of your quest. Your responses determine your base stats, of course, but they also lay out the trajectory of abilities you unlock. A little cryptic, yeah, but it's another cool way the game molds itself around your chosen playstyle. But regardless of the path you choose, we all have access to the same weapons and equipment. This final layer of customization is the simplest by far, the cherry on top that brings those final tweaks to our stats and AP. KH2 and 3 would go on to greatly expand our Keyblade utility, but here they're still pretty basic. And that's certainly the case for your party as well. Donald, Goofy, and our other Disney reps are technically here to help, but honestly, the AI just wasn't quite there yet. Gosh dang it, Donald. Sora is the only character you directly control, so you're probably just better off using the important things on him and keeping the others out of the way. But hey, let's give my guys some credit. They've got like a dozen or so worlds to save from the clutches of, what was it again?
Darkness!
Oh yeah. And in each of those worlds, Kingdom Hearts reveals its true superpower of immersing players in its source material. Ever wanted to go treasure hunting with Aladdin? Or how about sliding through the jungle with Tarzan? Sora's adventures have always sought to place us inside the Disney magic, and over the years, Square has employed a number of creative mechanics to inject the essence of each film into the series' core gameplay. For my money though, the original does it best by using the layout of each world to capture its magic. Each biome offers its own structural theme that sets it apart from the others and fulfills a unique role within the game itself. Wonderland is basically a giant puzzle box that starts off small before literally turning you on your head. The Colosseum is all about combat and makes you feel like a hero as you claim victory in its tournaments. Even Neverland allows you to fly with freedom after being cooped up in Captain Hook's ship, even if it does feel pretty lacking and would need some redemption later on. Yeah, there are definitely some rough edges here, especially in terms of navigation, camera control, and swimming. So I don't blame Nomura's team for playing it safe and de-emphasizing these elements in the next few titles. I'd argue, however, that a handful of hallways sporting a Disney skin just aren't as engaging as a curated platforming environment. Kingdom Hearts might not be as streamlined as its successors, but there is not another entry in this franchise that immerses me in its worlds quite like this one. But when you leave those worlds, that's a different story. The Gummy Ship is essentially Kingdom Hearts' take on the overworld, the mortar between the bricks of your adventure. And in an ocean of stars and cartoon characters, hopping in a LEGO Racer spacecraft honestly makes perfect sense. But I gotta be honest, this half-baked Star Fox minigame has always felt totally disconnected from the core experience. Compare this with something like The Wind Waker, where Link's items would unlock new tools for your boat and vice versa. The lanes between, on the other hand, don't really add anything aside from the utility of traveling between worlds. Sure, later titles have made the Gummy Ship more interesting, but in a series that manages to create synergy between so many disparate elements, this is the one thing that's always felt a bit out of place. But I digress. Chip 'n Dale's Pride and Joy is literally our vehicle for progressing through our quest, and as you can see, we've got some choices to make. Of course, the order in which we complete worlds ultimately leads us in the same direction, but this ebb and flow of choice and linearity is a classic design method that allows for divergent experiences without sacrificing the overall pacing. And that pace rhythmically returns us to our hub world at several key points. Traverse Town feels like a microcosm of the game itself, a crossroads of displaced Disney and Square properties, but it also acts as a bookend on each chapter of our journey. When it's time to go see Squall and the gang, you know something big's happening. And by continually looping us back here, Kingdom Hearts is able to use this hub to introduce a good portion of its side content. On your first visit, you might notice this ominous looking door. Well, by the time you come back, you have the power to open it. And what do you know? There are even more secrets that lie beyond. Traverse Town teaches us that returning to worlds with new abilities is certainly worth our time. Because while it's one of the only worlds we have to return to, it is far from the only place we can find these Trinity symbols, lost Dalmatians, and torn pages for the 100-Acre Wood. These hidden treasures are a great example of how purposeful backtracking can actually add more depth to a game's world. Take the Synthesis Shop, a KH classic, which functions basically as an intergalactic scavenger hunt that rewards heartless grinding with some of the most powerful equipment in the game, Kupo. Exploration directly enhances Sora's skill set, and we'll need all the enhancements we can get as we turn our eyes towards Hollow Bastion. Kingdom Hearts might have gotten its platforming from Mario, but this last leg of the quest is all Zelda. A once great castle now houses a complex puzzle-filled dungeon that acts as a bit of a fake-out before our true showdown at the end of the world. A Ganon's Tower-style gauntlet of Heartless that weaves through each of our previously visited worlds. The scope of diverse experiences on display for us one final time. And waiting for us at the end of it all is Mr. Darkness himself. Man, I love this guy. But as imposing as he is in his boat form, Ansem is just the beginning for Keyblade wielders who really want a challenge. Because after the credits, and a pretty sick glimpse of the future I might add, Kingdom Hearts joins the proud RPG tradition of the post-game super boss. There are 5 big ones: 6 if you include the Rock Titan and the Hades Cup. And each of them offers its own distinct combat experience. The Phantom is all about magic, requiring you to juggle pretty much every spell in your arsenal, while Kurt Ziza, shouts to you Kurt, switches between melee and magic to highlight Sora's moveset as a whole. And we can't forget our duel with Sephiroth, a terrifying firestorm of destruction and the ultimate test of your strategy and skill. Duels like these have come to dominate the post-game of Kingdom Hearts, with KH2's revenge value system turning him into a delicate dance of offense and defense. Refined as these later fights would be though, there's a variety on offer in our first batch of super bosses that's kinda lost when everyone throws on a black coat. But speaking of our favorite Hot Topic crew, did you know Darth Sidious here actually didn't come west for over a decade? Yeah, before the days of DLC, we had Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, or at least Japan did. A comprehensive re-release with additional story content, gummy ship missions, and a crazy amount of special Heartless that play like minigames for unique synthesis materials. Oh, and they're colored differently now, which is a little odd. Anyway, now that we've got Final Mix as part of these hilariously named collections, I'm just glad to definitively experience everything Kingdom Hearts has to offer. This PS2 game from 2002 managed to synergize a mind-boggling number of mechanics, genres, and intellectual properties to churn out a groundbreaking masterpiece that still holds up in its own right. In fact, while the series' identity would further solidify over the next few entries, the Disney and Final Fantasy elements have kinda struggled to maintain relevance in its increasingly convoluted story. But here in Sora's first outing, all of it just works. Harmony is unlocked through simplicity. And isn't that perfect for a friendship-driven hero wielding a giant frickin' key? Yeah, Kingdom Hearts has never been subtle with its messaging, but I kinda love it for that. I can't help but smile at the cheesy optimism of its themes, because as basic and naive as they feel, they're kinda true. Connection is at the heart of being human. And if you've ever felt lonely or unseen, you know that better than anyone. Darkness is isolation, but light is glimpsed in the people we love. Who brings light in your life? Tell them you love them today. For me, I see it in my wife, my family, and my closest friends. But more than anything, I see it in my God. He is the true light that casts out darkness, and his name is Jesus. In every one of these videos, I pray that you watching right now would come to know him and follow him. But even if you don't, know that you are loved, you are valuable, and you are creative. God bless y'all. Have a great day.